They came out of shadows, broken, scattered, hunted but alive. Over centuries, through exile, persecution, wandering, heartbreak, and hope, one people refused to vanish into oblivion. They carried in memory the echo of an ancient promise, and eventually, they returned to build a nation. This is not myth. This is a real story, the Exodus to nationhood, the Israeli people's unbroken journey. From a life of bondage to forging a state out of dust and dreams, their path was riddled with death and despair. Yet in every valley they forged a new strength. I want you to imagine, you are walking across deserts, escaping oppression, stepping through war, famine, exile, and all you have is your faith, your history, and the fierce insistence that you will survive. Let me tell you how Israel went from whispers of a people to a nation's roar. Long before modern borders, long before airplanes or passports, there was a story of a people that were once enslaved, oppressed, and exiled. The story of the Exodus, the Israelites in Egypt, under heavy labor, Pharaoh demanding their submission, the crossing of the Red Sea, and then wandering in the wilderness toward a promised land. That narrative shaped their identity across time. The story became the backbone of a people's identity, a compass pointing toward redemption and return. Over centuries, Jews lived in many lands, in Babylon, Persia, Europe, North Africa. They were exiles, diaspora, strangers in foreign lands, yet in books like Isaiah, Jeremiah, in Psalms, in prayers, they carried the hope of return, the dream returning home. Fast forward to the 19th century. The Jewish people in Europe faced persecutions, anti-Semitism, oppression, and a growing sense that adaptation might fail. At that moment emerged the political and cultural movement for a Jewish national home in the ancient land of Israel, then called Palestine, under Ottoman control. Leaders like Theodor Herzl argued that the Jews must have their own land to be safe. This was not just religious longing, it was a modern political project. But that was easier said than done. The land was controlled by Ottoman rulers, nationalism was rampant across Europe, local Arab communities lived there too. There was tension over purchase of land, immigration waves, coexistence, and conflict. Yet they pushed on. Small pioneer communities called Aliyah waves came, despite disease, hardship, hostility. They drained swamps, built farms, forged agricultural cooperatives. They insisted their ancient tie to that land was real. World War I changed the map and the Ottoman Empire collapsed. Britain gained control of Palestine. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 said, the British government favored establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Though with caution to the rights of existing non-Jewish communities, that promise gave Zionists hope that also sowed conflict. The 1930s and 1940s brought hard tests. In Europe, anti-Semitism turned lethal. The Holocaust, the murder of 6 million Jews, shocked the world. Jewish survivors, displaced, had nowhere to go. Many turned to Palestine as refuge, but Britain, under international pressures, limited immigration. Jews fled, often illegally, in what were called Aliyah operations, underground attempts to bring Jewish refugees by sea, often intercepted, interned, or turned back. One iconic episode, the ship Exodus 1947, named after the ancient story. It tried to carry Jewish refugees from Europe to Palestine. The British Navy intercepted it, forced the refugees back to Europe, even to Germany. This was a propaganda victory for the Zionist cause in the eyes of the world. The drama of human beings refused refuge stirred global sympathy. Parallel to the refugee crisis, violence escalated between Jewish and Arab communities in Palestine. Armed militias, reprisals, bombings, tension over land, political control, and immigration quotas stacked up. Jews in Palestine, though small in number, began organizing defense forces. They envisioned a future state, but also faced existential threats from both the British Authority and Arab neighboring communities. By 1947, the British decided to withdraw from Palestine. The United Nations proposed partition, a Jewish state, an Arab state, and Jerusalem under international regime. Jews accepted, but the Arab leaders rejected. The stage was set for war. But for Jews who believed in a homeland, this was the moment they had waited for. When Britain officially left in May 1948, Israel declared independence. Immediately, armies from neighboring Arab nations attacked and war broke out. The young state was fragile, underarmed. Under pressure, yet mobilization was swift. Jews from around the world volunteered. Newly arrived survivors joined. The war was brutal, cities besieged, civilians displaced, battlegrounds shifting, but Israeli forces held on, and in some areas even pushed back. Ceasefire lines in 1949 solidified Israel's borders beyond what the UN partition plan had allocated. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs fled or were expelled. For Israelis, the miracle was survival. From nothing, Israel had become a state. Gradually, they had armies, governance, and international recognition. The ancient memory converted into a political reality. Even after 1948, the story was far from over. The young state now had to absorb waves of child survivors, Jews from Arab lands, immigrant from war-torn Europe, Yemen, and North Africa. One dramatic instance was Operation Ezra Nehemiah in 1951 to 1952, which airlifted between 120,000 and 130,000 Iraqi Jews to Israel via Iran and Cyprus. Iraqi Jews long faced persecution and suspicion. Israel organized this mass migration. Another was the rescue of Ethiopian Jews, the Beta Israel. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, many fled famine, civil war, oppression. Covert operations, airlifts, secret routes brought them to Israel. One dramatic mission was the Red Sea diving resort, where Israeli agents posed as resort managers to clandestinely transport refugees via boats. Thousands were rescued. Each wave was perilous. Some died in deserts, in camps, in routes controlled by hostile forces. Some arrived weak and traumatized. Israel struggled to build housing, jobs, and infrastructure. But it pressed on. The ideal was not just a nation on a map, but a nation of people, bringing Jews home from anywhere. From its start, Israel faced wars: 1967 Six-Day War, 1973 Yom Kippur War, 1982 Lebanon, and many more. Each conflict threatened the nation's security and existence. In 1967, Israel captured East Jerusalem, Gaza, the West Bank, Sinai, Golan Heights. These gains transformed its control of territory but also deepened moral and political dilemmas. Israel's society had to learn fast, defend itself, absorb immigrants, build economy, protect borders, invent high technology, science, agriculture and industry, kibbutzim, desert agriculture, university research, military tech. All became pillars of Israeli strength. They didn't have luxury of waiting. Their enemies didn't wait for them to mature. There were internal tensions as well: secular versus religious, integration of diverse immigrant communities, European Jews, Middle Eastern Jews, and Ethiopian Jews, inequity, dissent over peace deals, over settlements. But the sense of mission, of survival, often pushed debate into the background. Despite all, Israel turned from a fragile frontier state into one of the most technologically dynamic on the global stage in computing, agritech, medicine, and defense. Today, Israel is a nation, but the story is not completed. The conflict with the Palestinians, questions of borders, security, minority rights, identity, democracy versus security, coexistence. All these are live wounds. The dream of peace remains elusive. The narrative of return coexists with narratives of displacement and struggle for two peoples. Moreover, diaspora Jews remain around the world. Israel remains a symbolic home, a political reality, a moral project, sometimes a flashpoint. The memory of the Exodus is still taught. The lessons of exile, trauma, hope, resilience remain central to Israeli philosophy. The moral of this story, the journey of Israel, shows how collective memory and identity sustain people across centuries of exile. It shows how exile can be converted into return only through relentless faith, courage, sacrifice, planning, and solidarity. It also warns that the road from return to justice is never easy. Nationhood is not magic, it demands living with tensions, contradictions, and painful trade-offs. Memory and story matter. A people without a memory is adrift. The Israelis survived centuries because they never forgot who they were or where they believed they came from. Return demands sacrifice. The journey to build a nation from scattered refugees took wars, sweat, loss, and persistent hope. Nationhood is fragile. Even after you have a country, preserving it, governing it justly, making peace, absorbing diversity, that is the hard part. Hope is not blind. The Israeli experience is neither utopia nor perfect. It is messy, painful, heroic, flawed. But it shows what determined people can build even after centuries of dispossession. So here's my call to you, dear viewer. If this story moved you, like this video, share it with someone who loves history or stories of resilience, and comment below what part touched you most. Do you see parallels in your own nation's history? And if you're new here, subscribe, there are more real stories to tell. The journey of people, exile, return, and nationhood, this is not just an Israeli story. It echoes in lives around the world, in refugees, in displaced communities, in those who believe a home is worth fighting for. Thank you for watching.